All of my life, I've always been surrounded by money. Not just in the sense I grew up with money. I was actually a poor inner city kid growing up in poverty. But we were always surrounded with the idea of getting out of the hood, building generational wealth, and living lavish. We constantly had this pressure to stay out of the streets so we can make our immigrant families proud and take advantage of growing up in a country to make up for all the sacrifices our parents made immigrating to this country. Those who stayed within the streets, not because they wanted to, but because they found themselves stuck in the cycle of poverty, where all they wanted to do was just survive or fit in. Find some place of self in this world where they was displaced from society because of their economic condition. They thought conforming to the streets was their only sense of security, and to some extent it was, as it was all they ever knew. All of the rappers, athletes, actors, artists that grew up in our neighborhoods. We looked up to them not just because of their talent, but because they proved to us that you can make it out the hood and make your dreams possible. Growing up in poverty and being amongst an immigrant population, we were constantly compared to those who were not immigrants, and my people were constantly being used as a political ploy by both parties. Growing up in the 2000s, we had the internet, and even in this virtual reality, I could not escape the idea of obtaining money. Y'all remember the whole CSGO skin scandals? We had literal children gambling for pixels on a screen. Now we live in an era where it's literally in my sports screen with draft picks. Oh, what if I wanted to Google the current ongoing situation in Iraq? Wait, there's literally an app where you can gamble or predict the outcome of a war? Man, I fucking hate Kalshi. That's gonna get its own video, by the way. But being surrounded by money never ended. When I finally reached adulthood, I went to business school, where I was formally trained on how to make people money. And while I was successful in business school, it was further confirmation for me that I did not want to build a life of chasing wealth. I was always frugal for three specific reasons. Number one, I always feared of having nothing again. Number two, I didn't really wanted or needed much in life. There were very few moments in my life where I overindulged in a couple things. And lastly, I always wanted to have an emergency fund for my friends and family in case if something happened to them. There were three other pivotal moments in my life where I realized this money stuff doesn't really matter as much as we put stock into it. Number one, it was during the pandemic when everybody lost their jobs, when the entire work week was partially centered around just making money to survive. All of that was taken away from us. It was the poorest I've ever been, and I realized once that was stripped away from me, how much more I could not provide. I needed to work on my physical health, my mental health. I needed to work on my interpersonal skills, learn what I valued. I learned I needed to appreciate life and not constantly work. And most importantly, I needed to embrace the beauty of the journey of life and self-improvement. During the pandemic, I realized that prior to the pandemic, I essentially lived a life being a machine. Being a machine that was always trying to be productive. And it was quite the contrary of how I wanted to live my life and you know, see how people perceive me. I always wanted to inspire people and be the light in their life. But I realized that I was so focused on this mentality of constantly being a machine in the cog, constantly trying to create wealth for somebody that's richer than me and doesn't give a fuck about me. And that essentially made me lose focus of what mattered most to me. The second pivotal moment in my life was when I first visited the Dominican Republic for the first time, and I took my mom with me, and it's her home country, and she hasn't visited in over 30 years. I want you guys to Google this after the video. Maybe I'll put up a picture on the screen if I could figure that out. Google the Cibao Valley. It's one of the most beautiful regions in DR, and the minute I got off the airport, I saw beautiful cattle, horses, I saw trees, mountain ranges. The air just felt so clear. And, a week prior to me going, I had a terrible, terrible cough from the poor air quality and illness, and that immediately went away when I landed on the country. And I saw the local people. They were so happy to embrace each other and welcome us. They had nowhere near as much possession or wealth as me, but they were happier than me. When I saw my first Caribbean sunset, it finally hit me why I didn't need to live a life back home where I was constantly chasing wealth. I had clarity that all I really, really wanted in life was just peace and tranquility. And at that moment, I knew I wanted to retire here because I could not simply fathom living in old age in America where all that matters is money, money, money. You need to constantly work to make the rich man richer. And it's a memory that will forever stick with me. And it completely reshaped how I wanted to live my life and what I was seeking for so long. Lastly, and most importantly, my most recent discovery or life event where I realized money wasn't as important as it should be was rediscovering my relationship to the Most High, or God, or Jesus and the Messiah. I'm just using those words for my Christians out there. But reading scripture gave me so much clarity and eased so many fears and anxieties I had regarding the world and my purpose in it. I realized that I must not worry too much about the worldly things. And I want to share you guys 2 scriptures that gave me this realization and gave me that closure and security. The first one is from Proverbs 3, verses 5-6, where it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." The second one is from Psalm 37, verse 4, where it states, "Delight yourself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart." It's sort of crazy how we put so much stock into making money in today's society. And I'm speaking specific to America because I know it's super unique to America. But it's probably like that in definitely other countries as well too. But it's crazy how, especially in today's age where we live in the era of AI and technology and the internet, that we are restructuring how people can make money. If you want to look at it from the old school corporate world, some of the most incompetent, dumbest, laziest people are at the top and they make the most money. Does that mean they have more inherent value than you in this world? Some of the least talented people on this planet make the most money. We got people like Aiden Ross, who's a millionaire. Is that not crazy? Does he have more inherent value than you in this world? We got other people making money literally on creating video game clips in Cambodia, making 6 figures. Does that mean they have more value than the lawyer, the doctor, a teacher, just because they make more money than them? No, not at all. And it's crazy how we have a warped perspective on having, how much money you make equals your value to this world. It's complete nonsense. One thing I've always heard is that, they don't want to teach you personal finance in school, so they can have you avoid being at the top. The reality is that the people at the top will and always will have control over you no matter what knowledge or agency you have. We now literally have the internet where there's people giving you free advice on money on the internet. For example, there's this guy on YouTube called Slow Stack Society, who's a gaming commentary channel solely focused on helping people make money. Now, no shade to Slow Stack. May the Father bless you, my brother, and I appreciate your dedication to the mission statement of your work. But this is a message to all his viewers. Take that money away, and what do you have? What can you provide? Take that check away, and what can you give? I've learned that there's so much more that you can give in this world. You can create art. You can share it with others. You can inspire others. Advocate for change. Spend time with the people that mean the most to you. Unfortunately, for those who are in need, and as someone who once lived in poverty, I know how you feel. And while I understand you need to focus on chasing that check for survival, I hope you do your best to at least try to enjoy as much life as you can. Embrace your loved ones. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. But this is a message for everybody to enjoy the beauties of the world. There's so much more than your yearly salary. And I hope one day you understand that. And there's so much more to you than what you do for work and how much money you make on a day-to-day basis. And if you're still stuck in that grind set, I hope you understand that. That will be all. Thank you all for watching, and peace be with you all.